Men of Reddit, what's the most romantic thing a woman in your life has ever done? I'm gonna take a different tack with my reply. Now, she did many romantic things, but what always stood out was her consistency. Not even the drudgery of life kept her down. She was always positive, upbeat. She'd ask me about things, for my opinions. She'd give me her undivided attention regularly. She'd look at me, not on her phone or the TV. We had no screens of any kind at all in our bedroom, ever. She was her own person, dressed how she wanted to, but she would also dress for me from time to time, mostly at home. She was touchy-feely, so she touched me a lot, which was wonderful. It sure beats having her next to me than on the other side of the couch, or in a chair if I'm on the couch, or in another room, or on another floor. She didn't just tell me and inform me of what we'd be doing that evening or that weekend or on vacation. She'd ask me. She took things I said to heart. She cared, listened, and acted upon those things. They weren't just empty gestures. She lived it. She walked her talk all the time. It might sound corny, but she was always romantic, and that's the point. In little ways, in big ways, all the time. I mean, there are things that weren't only done once in a blue moon, but regularly. Many times when it was time for dinner, she'd sit on my lap as I sat at the dinner table, and we ate dinner like that with her on my lap. When I'm in a room and she comes into that room, she comes up to me. If I'm in the kitchen, she comes into the kitchen and she'll grab my hand in hers, and we intertwine our fingers, and it's the only way she holds hands with me. If we're working on making dinner and we're in the kitchen, she'll be next to me, and then she'll lightly tap me with her hip, just because. I've come home and needed a shower, so I get into the shower, and so many times she'll get in with me. Why? Because I'm in there. At night, we cuddle, spoon, etc. During the night, when either one of us wakes up, if we're not touching each other, we move to make contact and touch each other again. She stops in at my office for no reason many times. She'll send things to the office for me. Not flowers, as she knows I don't want them, but other things. Food, cards, handwritten notes of what she's going to do to me when I get home that night, etc. She initiates as much as I do. Many times she'll simply walk up to me where I'm seated, and she'll extend her hand out to me. So I reach out my hand and put it in hers, and she leads us off to the bedroom. Or she'll just come and straddle me where I'm sitting and begin making out. So while she's done many romantic things that I can name or list, honestly to me, the most romantic thing she's done is be herself and always be nice, attentive, polite, caring, thoughtful, helpful, appreciative, supportive, etc. I mean, the way she looks is sexy and romantic. The way she moves is, like even when she reaches for something on the table during a meal. I find it romantic when she'll cook in just an apron and nothing else, just because. All of her is romantic. A woman I was dating worked late on my birthday one year and called to chat on her drive home. She apologized for missing my birthday and promised to make it up the next night. We talked for way longer than a typical drive, but I thought maybe she'd gotten home and simply hadn't told me. Instead, she drove across town and was circling my neighborhood searching for my house. She eventually found it and surprised me with a pint of ice cream and a balloon. We got married 2 years ago. I knew a girl since I was 16, and she was into me but 3 years younger, so I maintained my distance. On my 23rd birthday, she called me up while I was drinking alone in my crappy apartment because I'm a loser, and she said she'd bake me a cake and was at my door. It occurred to me that a 3 years age difference wasn't such a big deal anymore, and I let her in. Predictably, she took advantage of me in my inebriated state, and I eventually married her, and we had a bunch of kids. I broke my leg 3 months into a relationship, which was unrelated to the relationship. My family had just left town that day. I had emergency surgery. She drove me to the surgery, picked up my meds during the surgery, picked me up when I woke up, drove me back to her place, and took care of me for a month there. This included sponge baths, waking up to give me painkillers in the middle of the night so I wouldn't wake up in agony, having food for me during the day when she went out to work, and making sure I was happy overall. 4 years later, and we are still together. If all that crap ain't romantic, I don't know what is. I lost my favorite pair of sunglasses at a building on campus. By the time I realized that, I was at my dorm and was swamped with papers. I was upset and expressed this to her. She left and came back soaking wet. She went back to campus and walked along every path I had taken and checked the building for me to try and find them as a pick-me-up. Unfortunately, she couldn't find them, but it was so sweet. I assume she was wet because it was raining. If so, that makes it extra sweet. Yes, it was pouring. Super sweet. Every day, my wife helps me get up and dressed. I've been in a chair since May. Helping a partner this way can be so romantic. My ex had a temporary back pain problem that got so bad at one point that she needed help dressing and showering. And it was super intimate helping her with those things. It definitely brought us closer together. My wife and I were having Thanksgiving with my grandparents and extended family, most of who she had not met. We had just moved 2,000 miles for a job and happened to be about 3 hours from my grandparents. Something to know about my family is we are ruthless and overly generous with sarcasm and insults. Almost 20 of my family members were just unleashing the superpower on me. Mostly things along the line of my wife were way out of my league and too beautiful for me. My wife had been quiet this whole time. Finally, one of my uncles asked her why someone so beautiful would settle for someone like his nephew. This was at the table with my grandparents, aunts, uncles, and cousins, very formal in the near south. She looks him dead in the eye and says loud enough for even my most deaf relative to hear, "I married him for his penis." She then went back to her dinner and they chose a different victim. Did you fall in love all over again? It did make me have flutters. She was good for standing up for me and wouldn't let me sell myself short. Until she decided to leave me and have a different life, but we were married for about 13 years. I didn't have a mattress throughout high school, and my then girlfriend came over for the first time and she looked very disgruntled, so she talked to her parents and arranged a surprise visit for me to go to IKEA and get a bed and a desk. I've never loved someone so much. Wow, I can imagine that conversation. "Hey, Mom, Dad, I went to my boyfriend's house to get laid and he didn't even have a mattress to help a girl out." "What? No daughter of mine is doing it on the floor. Honey, grab your coat. We're gonna buy honest, good quality Swedish furniture so our daughter can get plowed the way God intended, dang it." She bought us tickets to Cedar Point even though she was afraid of roller coasters. Takes you to the best place on earth and holds your stuff while you use the single rider line? That's wife material right there. I dated a girl who decorated a matchbox with the message, "We're a great match," and filled it with little edible matches. Little pretzel sticks dipped in colored chocolate at the end to look like a match. She clearly put a lot of thought and effort into it, which was really what meant the most to me. Unfortunately, no, we're not together anymore. My last girlfriend arranged a surprise birthday party for me at a trampoline park. I was turning 30. As a kid, I could play on a trampoline for hours. Last time I was on one, I was 19 and I was winded in 5 minutes and needed a break. A girl I knew I had a thing for her, so she pretended she couldn't find her phone, then asked if someone could call it. I said, "Sure, what's your number?" We got married a year later for 15 years. Dang, she got moves. After a particularly bad day, I laid my head on her chest, pet me, and told me everything would be okay. I honestly feel like that's what every man craves, but not many will actually admit. I'll admit it, I've been single for a whole year, and that's literally all I want right now. When me and my fiancé were dating, I always joked about visiting a place called Hillbilly Hot Dogs after seeing a post about it online. Well, a year or so after I first started talking about it, my boss calls me and tells me to head home early. I ask him what's up, and he just says the other guys will finish the day out. I got home and my girlfriend told me to pack 3 to 4 days of clothes, but she wouldn't tell me where we were going. We hopped in a car and sure enough, a few hours later, we were in front of Hillbilly Hot Dogs. I couldn't believe it. We just had the best time eating there in the section that's an old converted school bus. After that, we ended up driving down to NC to stay at her cousin's near the beach for a few days and just enjoy each other's company. On the way back, she said we would stop at any stupid roadside attraction I wanted to since she knew I loved them. Honestly, it was the most wonderful gift I've ever received. Are you guys still together? We sure are. Couldn't let a girl like that ever get away. We just bought an old farmhouse on 3.5 acres together last summer that we are remodeling and can't wait to spend the rest of our life together in it. Pulled me to a dance floor dragging a chair behind her, standing up on the chair, and we danced. I'm quite tall. My son had a girlfriend in high school who had cerebral palsy. She could walk for short distances, but it was hard. He took her to a school dance. He dragged the chair that she was sitting on onto the dance floor and danced with her. My kid is the best thing. Wow, that's so awesome. What a cool kid. She made me a scrapbook of our entire relationship and saved everything from all our previous dates to put it into the book. She also got me a custom guitar pick with our anniversary. Man, I love that woman. I'm actually doing this for my boyfriend, but I don't have a lot of pictures of us when we went on dates. Pro tip, draw simple pictures of what your movie ticket looked like, the color you remember them wearing, or small notes about what you remember them saying that made you smile. I've always had a passion for astronomy, and it had been a childhood dream of mine to see the CERN Super Collider in Switzerland. My girlfriend, not being much scientific herself, didn't understand the beauty of such technology, started to cut back on expenditure on things she liked for a couple of months. I occasionally offered some financial support, but she always kissed me saying there's nothing to worry about, and so like any partner, I worried my butt off. Some months passed and it was nearing my birthday. I hadn't seen my girlfriend all day as she went to work, yet she arrived late. She came up to me with an envelope and simply sat beside me, anticipating my reaction. She slipped out 2 tickets to my childhood dream into my hands, as well as cried like a little child in her warm embrace. I'm smiling so much typing this, but she, without even leaving any hints, sacrificed so many months of comfort just to fulfill a dream of mine. She currently lives in Switzerland and lives a couple hours drive away from the facility. I'm currently trying to assemble an elegant trip abroad just for her to the Maldives after this whole lockdown eases. I've never loved someone so much. My wife did a few things for me that I definitely consider romantic. There was a time when I was really hungover, so she, being a paramedic, started an IV on me and put 2 bags of fluids on me. It made me feel a whole lot better. She would also make me breakfast and bring it to me just as I was getting up for work in the afternoon. She would also shave my neck when I couldn't get to the barber. I never asked her to, she always offered. Freak. I miss her. What happened to her, if you don't mind me asking? I don't mind at all. An arterial blockage that more than likely caused a heart attack. That's what the ME's report said. She was also pregnant and just had her first trimester checkup, where we were told both her and the baby were healthy and had nothing to worry about. I was having a rough day and she simply put my head on her lap and petted my head and gently scratched me until I fell asleep. She threw me an unbelievable surprise 50th birthday party that had 75 attendees, including friends from out of state, and kept it a complete surprise for me. Absolutely blow me away the amount of work, months of coordination and care she put into it. One of the best nights of my life. This was just this past January. I got her a calendar with pictures of dogs pooping on it. Pretty sure we're even. I actually tried to do the same for my ex. I invited all of his friends, many I hadn't even met before. Got decorations, cooked in secrets, and got people to pull up for a gift. His birthday came and I asked his friends to invite him somewhere so I could decorate and his other friends could come over and surprise him. His friends are lovely, but a bit useless in convincing him to leave the house. I tried every excuse I could think to trick him out of the house without revealing the party, but he refused to leave. People were starting to arrive in a few minutes and he was starting to get annoyed with me for badgering him, so I finally had to ask him to go out for a moment so we could make his birthday happen. He was upset at me for a long time for revealing it, despite having tried my absolute best for weeks and up until the last minute. Even if it wasn't a surprise, it would have been nice to have a thank you, as I just wanted to make him happy. It's really nice to read happy stories like yours. It gives me the courage to maybe try that again in the future with someone else. On my birthday a few years ago, my girlfriend told me to pack my bag and some warm gear. I thought she was taking me on a surprise camping trip, but instead, we hopped on a train to the airport and flew to Norway. We ended up going husky sledding, spending the night in a yurt at the Husky Lodge, going snowmobiling up to a canyon, staying in an ice hotel, and going on a Northern Lights tour. She also made the effort to get in touch with a guy I had recently done some business with online, who I had really liked. He picked us up from the airport in a chauffeur hat with a sign, and then took us all around Oslo to see the sights and to meet his family. Truly a special holiday. We're now engaged. Oh, that's so lovely. My wife cut my hair tonight because I can't go to the barber, and she knew it was bugging me. That must have felt great, both for the haircut and having your wife playing with your hair. It did. She did her best. I'm wearing a hat tomorrow. My birthday was on the 9th, and since we can't go out, she made me my own escape room in our house. It made me feel so loved, I almost cried. I lucked out with the greatest girl in the world. Something similar happened to a friend of mine. He was chained up by his girlfriend on his birthday. Help me move. I never felt more loved than when I was flipping the heck out trying to get packed and figuring out how I was going to get everything to my apartment, and my very organized girlfriend drove out from an hour away several nights in 1 week to help me make it happen. I was sick in a hotel room halfway around the world. My girlfriend said, "Open your door. There should be a package." She had sent me a surprise, desperately needed care package with Pedialyte, Gatorade, tissues, meds, crackers, etc. It was magical. My girlfriend paid for a maritime course that I couldn't afford so that I could get a higher license and a better paying job. We're now married and I'm a captain. My long distance girlfriend flew 6,000 kilometers to spend her 2 weeks winter vacation with me. I flew 9,000 kilometers to spend my first real break in a whole year with my childhood best friend. They have visited me back home a couple times, and I always made sure they had an amazing time. Despite the fact I was studying and working Monday to Friday, assignments never rest, lol. So before I got tickets, I made sure it was okay for me to go, as they work from Monday to Friday, 9 to 5 job. They assured me it'd be fine, we still had nights to hang out and the weekends of course. I think the furthest away we went in the entire month I was there was to a beach 40 kilometers from their place. Not to mention how they'd always act annoyed at the idea of doing anything that wasn't going out for food, and just generally had zero interest in engaging with me. I'm glad I didn't wait for them to show me around and invested in Ubers because I would have never left their house. Needless to say, that was the trip where I realized they don't value our relationship to the same degree as I do. It made me question all the things I've sacrificed for their sake. In the movie Die Hard, a girl runs and throws herself into the arms of a guy she is meeting who is getting off a plane. She jumps up and into his arms. Ever since I saw that, oh so many years ago, I've wanted someone to be so thrilled to greet me that they threw themselves into my arms like that. It took me 40 years, but it did eventually happen, and the girl had no idea it was something I'd always fantasized about. It became a thing for us. When we hadn't seen each other in a while, she'd run and just jump into my arms. When me and my boyfriend were long distance, we didn't see each other for 12 weeks. So for 12 weeks, I dreamed of running up to him in the airport arrivals. When the time came, he wasn't there when I landed. I had to get a cab by myself. Picked up my girlfriend and her parents at the airport after their trip. I had the sign and everything. About a week later, she cheated on me and then left me. My wife paid off all my debt and student loans with a smile and hugged me after she did. She didn't have an inch of sadness parting with all that money. I have autism and she continues to support me and all my strangeness. I'm extremely fortunate to have her. She's a keeper. It won't seem like much, but it was a big deal to me at the time and kind of still is. We had only just been dating a few months, only a few dates under our belt due to both of our busy schedules. And I don't know why, but I couldn't shake this feeling that she just wasn't into us. That she was just playing along for some other ends meet that I wasn't aware of. But near the end of one of these dates, we were on her couch just chatting with my arm around her like I usually do. And then she got up to roll herself a cigarette as she was still in the middle of quitting at the time, but still smoked weed when stressed. And as she got off the couch, she leaned back down to kiss me. That was our first kiss that didn't feel like a mandatory goodbye kiss, as that was the only kind of kissing we had done before this. And for some reason, it's kind of just melted away those doubts I had. A little while later, I asked her about it, and she told me, "I know you're disgusted by my smoking, so I wanted to kiss you before I smoked." The fact that this felt like our first genuine kiss together, and that she thought of me and my feelings in that way, just kind of assured me of the relationship. And we're still together a year later. My girlfriend spent 7 hours using public transportation to surprise me at home. Imagine this, coming home from a full 8-hour shift starting at 6 a.m, lifting heavy TVs. I come home, my bedroom door is locked. I dead butt think it's my younger brother pulling a prank on me. I knock, just wanting to go sit on my computer and watch some videos or play some games. When the door opens, to my surprise, there is the love of my life, standing there telling me to be patient. My eyes tear up from a combination of feelings, mostly joy. We hadn't seen each other physically in over a month, just Skype. It totally made my day and weekend. Happily married 5 years. I loved pirates, and it was my birthday. I'm a cook and I love food and all things related. While I was at work, my girlfriend at the time made a pirate scavenger hunt with a piece of paper she burned and made look like a map. I was turning 23 and that was the best thing ever. The gifts were a charcoal grill and other cooking related items. Thanks, y'all. A girl in high school baked me sugar cookies spelling out a message, asking me to prom. I immediately said yes. A couple of years later, she came out as a lesbian. It's okay though, I came out as gay shortly after too. What a twist. Were the cookies good though? Very. We're still friends to this day. She helped me come out, giving me advice. She lives with her fiancé now. Was a girl I lived with for 6 years. Right in the middle of it all, I landed the best job I've ever had. Although she was having personal issues at the same time. We decided that she stays home till it all gets under control and only I would work. This went on for almost a year. When my birthday came around, she went to visit her mom while I was at work, borrowed construction paper from her younger brother who was still in school, and she made decorations and put them up in every room all over every wall of the whole house. The amount of effort she put into this was probably more than I put out at work that day. My jaw hit the floor when I saw it. We split up about a year ago, but I still have a box full of the things that she made that day, and I plan to keep it even longer. This is sad, but it's really sweet that you understood the effort that went into the gesture and still values it so much. I was running a fever and slept on the couch outside. Throughout the night, I would wake up to see my girlfriend kneeling on the floor, using a wet handkerchief to sponge me down. I love her so much. After having a schizophrenic episode in my sleep, I jumped out of the bed, bawling sweat and tears and silently screaming. She woke up, hugged me, gave me lots of kisses, and put my head against her chest, where I could calmly hear her heart beating and where I ended up falling asleep again. I woke up the next morning. The first thing I saw was her cute, in-love look, accompanied by her adorable smile, and the feeling of her hands caressing my head and face. I had never felt so loved, taken cared for, and appreciated. On our first anniversary, after our class, she prepared a walk around our college campus, with some papers with vivid descriptions directing us to specific places where some of our fondest moments happened in the time it took us to know and fall in love with each other. Like treasure hunting, but she had the papers with her at all times and would only give the next one to me when I reached a designated spot. After 7 heartwarming notes about us and our story, we ended up in a natural park besides campus, where, in the beginning, I asked her about making it official and declared myself to her. If I wasn't shocked by the sentiment she proved to feel towards yours truly by making something so special to me, I would have 100% cried tears of happiness for the first time in my life. An ex-girlfriend I dated for about 3 years, and it wasn't until near the end of the relationship that I found out that she hated bacon. She knew I loved bacon, so she just kinda went with it, and we would get it on pizza, and she would make BLTs a lot for lunch. It was an incredibly sweet thing to do, but unfortunately our lives were going in different paths, so it ended up not working out. I once had a girlfriend who, on my birthday, gave me a pack of dollar store toys that were a collection of crustaceans. She smiled and told me that now I can tell everyone that she gave me crabs on my birthday. I miss her. My girlfriend has done plenty of things, but I'll never forget when we were having a birthday party at school and she placed down a slice of pizza in front of me. I asked her why, and she said, well, it looked like they were going to finish it soon and I didn't want you not to get any pizza. I could not stop smiling that day. Lol. She gave me those cards that said, open when you feel sad, open when you feel happy, Open when you want to know how much I care about you. After we broke up, I found that in one letter it said that she loved me, and it broke my heart to find out about this after the breakup. She was a graffiti artist, an excellent one, and the kind that would sneak into rail yards. She did a mini mural with my name and the date. I have a picture and look at it all the time. I was at a picnic with her large family, and already being a socially anxious person, I was absolutely wearing the mask. Full cascades of sound pouring over me, difficulty hearing people talk, couldn't make eye contact. This was super early in our relationship. She glanced at me to check in, saw the mask, and under the table, gently took my hand in her lap and began tracing the back of it with her fingernails. It was the most loving form of grounding I've ever experienced, and I hope wherever she is, she knows how much it meant to me. My girlfriend remembers every detail of when we first started dating. On a long drive together, one of our songs came on, and she described the first night we listened to it and when she fell in love with me. She didn't even finish the story because it just broke me. I was leaking tears and it wouldn't stop. I rarely get someone who remembers something I did for them, and my girlfriend to tell these back filled my heart. Get a partner who appreciates your efforts.